So my name is Tanya Caines, and thank you, Adeli, for introducing me. So I graduated from New York University a little bit ago, and I've been working for the New York City Department of Education for 14 years. So for 10 years, I worked within District 75, which in New York is the district that has multiple disabilities and intellectual disabilities. And then with the junior and high school population from 13 to 21. And then about almost 5 years ago, I transitioned into general education, an elementary school, to provide communication and language support. So I now currently deal with pre-K students all the way through 5th grade, and I do have some experience dealing with junior high school students. I work as an adjunct supervisor, as it was told to you, for 2 major universities here in New York. And now I'm also teaching for speech at NYU, which is NYU's online program. I've worked in early intervention for about 5 years, and I'm currently working towards the classroom educator level of the Orton-Gillingham program. So I feel like I'm pretty busy. As SLPs, we tend to always have lots of different hats on. So just before we get started, how many people here are school-based SLPs? You could just put like school in the comments in the chat box. Okay. Okay, so we have a couple of school-based SLPs. Do we have any newbies? Like any newbies or like early intervention 0 to 3 years SLPs here? Okay. Okay, so most of the people have been working for, oh, some people also do EI, okay. So I'm going to assume most of the people are we veterans, like 10 years up, or maybe 3 to 6 years, 6 to 10 years, just to kind of give us a range of, oh, it's that we have some veterans here, okay. Okay. Cool. Okay, so it's just kind of cool to know who is on tonight, just so we could kind of have a more balanced conversation and we can have that back and forth. So let's get started. So just in case you have to jump off, I understand that we all have busy schedules and you may have to jump off early. So if you ever want to just figure out how to contact me, I am seen on Instagram and Facebook at the same name, KIT Therapy and Consulting. That's my business that's newly starting up. And I also have the same email address, kittherapyandconsulting@gmail.com. So if you need to, you can take that information if you just have to jump off, I understand. But if you're able to stay all the way to the end, I have a little gift for you. So just stay tuned. Won't be too long before I talk about that gift, okay? Okay, so I was a big fan of the Golden Girls when I was younger. I watched it pretty much every time it came on. So, picture it always stuck out to me when Sophia would say it. So picture it, Brooklyn, New York, 2006. So I started working at a junior high school / high school with young adults with the overall diagnosis of intellectual disabilities. So this job required most of my time to be pushed in, okay? And coming out of school, coming out of New York University, we really weren't taught anything about push-in. The only thing I knew was that you go to a place, you take your clients, you remove them, and then you have a one-to-one session with them. So I had no idea what to do. And so I go into this classroom my first day. I'm all chipper and cheery, and I walk in and I'm like, hi, my name is Tanya. I'm here. I'm the new speech therapist. And the teacher looks at me. She looks at me up and down and she's like, no, I don't need another person in here. I don't need another body. Get out. So of course I'm like, whoa, I stand there. I'm very unsure of myself. It's a new building, new environment. I have no idea what to do. School doesn't prepare you for this. And I'm just standing there and I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this because it's a professional environment. I totally didn't know what to do. And then that same teacher turns around and she's like, matter of fact, come here. You know what? I need you to watch this class with me because I'm going to go do lesson plans and I'm going to go to the bathroom. And so I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. I'm embarrassed because you have a class full of students, but you also have, the paraprofessionals who are in the classroom. I'm very embarrassed and I didn't know what to do. I was annoyed also, so let me just say that. So I wish that I could say that everything got really better after that, but it didn't. I'll also say that I was trying to figure out how to navigate professional and personal at the same time, and just be, professional in that environment. And I was also 20 something years old, straight out of school, didn't know what to do. So what happened next? I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to wait a little bit, make you suffer. And we'll talk about it a little bit later as we go through the presentation. But has anything like this ever happened to anyone else? Has anyone ever suffered anything remotely close to that experience? Oh, so some people have. Okay. It's not a fun situation at all. But we'll talk about it a little bit more, and I'll tell you what happened and how I navigated that situation. So really what we're talking about today is how we're going to start beginning to collaborate, okay? And really what we need to do at first is to kind of look at the collaborative teaching models, especially if you're doing push-in within your school. So there are a couple collaborative teaching models that we know about. I think we've probably heard about them before, and they're the 6 teaching models: team, parallel, station, alternative, one teach, one assist, one teach, one observe. Some of them are more self-explanatory than others. I'll go through each of them really quickly tonight just to give you an overview if you're not familiar. So the team teaching is where the SLP and the teacher both are giving instruction at the same time, excuse me. It's sometimes looked at like tag team teaching. Parallel teaching is where the SLP and the teacher are dividing the class. Maybe they may just divide the class just by numbers purely, or they may really look at the needs of the students and they're teaching at the same time. Station teaching is where the teacher and the SLP can rotate the room in stations. And so they're teaching the same content to the students, but they're teaching it to them in one group at a time. And then the next teacher will rotate and come back and teach the same content. You have alternative, which is where the teacher can take on a larger class and the SLP may pull out a smaller group on the side, and the SLP will make that information more individualized to the students that she has, but they're still within the same room. Excuse me. We have one teach, one assist. It's where the teacher is teaching and the SLP is going around the room, moving throughout the room and assisting students as needed. And then you have one teach, one observe, where the teacher is teaching and maybe the SLP and the teacher have spoken previously about some skills that they want to observe the students doing. And then the SLP could take down some data as they move through the room and see how the students are interpreting the information that the teacher is already presenting. So, sorry, I'm just trying to keep track of my time here. So do you have any experience with collaborative teaching? Any of those collaborative teaching models? Anyone use them? And do you have a favorite one? Do you have something that really sticks out to you? Or do you have something that you really not like? Because there are pros and cons to every teaching style that is presented. Okay, team, parallel, and station. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you some information about the collaborations that I've done. I think that collaboration works best when, again, collaboration is not just one person wanting to collab. It has to be both parties willing and active participants. So when I've worked the best with teachers who are really into collaboration, with teachers who really buy into and also understand the foundations and fundamentals of speech, because some people, even when explained, they may not understand it. And so some people don't see the value in it. But there's this great teacher, to this day, we don't even work in the same school and I still keep in contact with her because she was an amazing teacher and our lessons worked really well together. We've done team teaching. We mostly would do alternative because I would pull out, my little group within the classroom. We did station teaching and we would do one teach, one assist, depending on the students that we had in the classroom. So that was a really good experience to collaborate with that teacher. And we would sit beforehand and plan out our lessons and our whatever goals we were trying to target for the session. I've also had some really horrible experiences with collaboration, mainly because some individuals are just they don't buy into collaboration with others. And I've had some really bad experiences, specifically with team. with team teaching, because some people just don't like another body in their room and don't want someone else kind of chiming in on their lesson. So, it can go either way, like I said, depending on the person, the people that you are working with in the room. Okay, so we're going to move on. So how do we begin to collaborate? So the first thing you want to do is try to meet with teachers or other related service providers to review sessions or to plan. So we have to remember that, so in that school that I worked, the school was huge. There were 10 to 11 speech therapists. I think there were 10 OTs, 10 PTs. It was a huge school. So in that sense, we had to really work on collaboration, especially between related services, before we even started to meet with teachers. So we used to send each other our schedules so that we could kind of go through it to make sure that we're not overlapping on someone else's time, because the speech therapy schedules worked a little different than the OT and the PT schedule. So we really had to make sure that we were on one page. And, when you build a good relationship with the other related services, it's very helpful and beneficial, particularly in the school that I was in, because of the fact that we had a lot of students who had severe motoric issues. So a lot of times we would go to the occupational therapist and the physical therapist to help us if it came to fine motor, things, or also maybe had to do with feeding, and also, placement of different types of feeding utensils that we might provide for them. So it was very helpful and beneficial to speak to the OTs and PTs to also help them, for them to help us with positioning. And also, it was like a reciprocal thing where we would help them as well in terms of giving them some ideas when they were trying to work on communication and language. Meeting with teachers, it doesn't always have to be a face-to-face meeting. I know that when we're in schools, it's really difficult for us to always find time to meet with each other, right? We're barely trying to handle our own schedules, and now we have to meet with someone else. But the way that things are right now with technology, you may not even have to ever see the teacher until it's actually time for the lesson. So I learned about this cool thing. I'm going to date myself and sound really old, like Google Docs. My students, my graduate students taught me about Google Docs, and it's the best thing ever, because you can simultaneously type into a document at the same time while someone else is working on it. So it's a really cool way to be able to, set up a lesson plan, add comments, edit, and do all the things that you need to do. And you don't even need to actually see the person to start it. You could even do, if you wanted to do a lunch date, I know sometimes it's not always so easy, but we just have to find some time to really be able to meet with that other person. And it could always be virtual, right? You could always jump on a Google Meet or a Zoom from your room, and that teacher is in their room, and you could still have a 5 to 10 minute conversation, okay? I would even think about organizing yourself beforehand, before you even meet with the teacher, so that it goes even quicker and it flows smoothly. Also remember that there are different personalities, so try not to take it personal. That's hard sometimes, but we are all, when we come to work, we all bring different personalities with us. They used to say, like, you leave your personality at the door. That's not true. Let's be honest. Like, if you're having a bad date, it kind of comes in with you. So you want to just try to remember that everyone is not waking up as bright and as cheerful as you are. And they might be having a bad day. So try not to get into, petty back and forth with other staff members. It happens sometimes, but you try to just kind of rise above it and keep moving forward. Okay, so when there is a breakdown in a conflict, what do you do? So the first thing you want to look into is you want to think about asking for support from fellow SLPs. So let's go back to that picture it story that I gave you in the beginning in Brooklyn in 2006. So after everything happened with that teacher, I walked away and I went back downstairs to the speech office, and I walk in, and I'm sure they saw on my face, because my face is very expressive. And they asked me what happened, and I laid the story out. And so one of the senior clinicians who had been there for a number of years, she marched back upstairs with me, and, in no uncertain terms, went right to that teacher and said, absolutely not. You are not going to tell this speech clinician what she should and shouldn't do. You are not going to tell her who she can and cannot see, and you are not going to order her around. She is here to do a job, and she is not here to be your assistant. She is not here for, your relief time, and you're going to let her do her job. And the teacher closed her mouth and said nothing. So it taught me a valuable lesson that support from others is crucial. To get support from people who actually had experience in that site is everything, right? So that's definitely something you want to try to do. See if you have other SLPs at your school and see if they can help you if they have some experience because they've been there longer than you. Maybe they can assist you and just kind of tell you what you need. If you don't have other SLPs at your school, see if there are other disciplines around. Maybe there's an OT who can help you, a PT who can help you, the S.I.S.T.A.s teacher. Just look around to see if someone else has some experience that can assist you. I always say try to handle the situation in-house before outsourcing, and I'm going to give a disclaimer about that. So what I mean by that is, in my experience, sometimes when the supervisors come in, the supervisor doesn't understand the culture of your school. So what I'm saying is I'm not telling you not to reach out to a supervisor and tell them what's happening, but I do think that maybe you should try to see if you can solve the problem on your own. You can mention it to the supervisor, but don't ask them to come in yet, because there might be a way for you to solve the problem in-house before you outsource to the supervisor. There's nothing wrong, and supervisors are definitely there to help us and assist, but even supervisors will tell you, see if there's some way that you can kind of solve the issue before they come in, because when they come in, they don't necessarily understand the culture of your school. And sometimes it can blow up into a bigger thing than you might have wanted it to be, because they have to they're taking it from a higher level than, you may not have wanted it to go to that. So just always kind of see if you can, fix it or figure out something before you have to go to the supervisor, for the supervisor to come in and be a mediator. So I say try not to burn any bridges. You never know who you're meeting in your climb. You want to think about the fact that it's just about being kind. I think that's just something that you want to think about. And then also, whenever you do something, you want to try to leave it in a place where if you needed to, you may be able to call back and use these people for help. I just always feel like, so for instance, if you're leaving a job, you may want to try to leave it diplomatically. You don't want to try to leave it with like, peace out homies, and like a whole big hoopla of something, because it just doesn't look right. And you never know when you may need to turn around and ask that person for a recommendation, but you just kind of like went a little crazy and talking, you were talking a little reckless, and now you have to, eat crow and because you just said too much. So just think about maybe just leaving a job diplomatically. Always keep a paper trail. Paper trails are crucial, especially when you're working in schools. You want to think about the fact that we have IEPs, we have so much documentation that we have to keep track of. We also have, legal documents that are coming across our way, right? We have these plans, these individualized educational plans, these programs, and we have to be able to, we're mandated by law to keep track of this. And anything that you write, anything can be held against you, right? And we know that. And there have been times when there are impartial hearings and you may have to speak on the fact of what you wrote in an IEP or what you wrote in a child session note. So make sure that you are keeping really good notes. Make sure that you're keeping all of your paperwork in one place. I tend to keep folders in my email so I can quickly find things. If you want, you can print them out and keep them in one place in your office, if you have an office, because I know everyone doesn't have an office. But just try to make sure that you can always access it very quickly. And then you want to be firm, diplomatic, and professional in your responses. Keep a paper trail even through email. So I have a silly thing of, if someone calls me, I'm going to email you back, thank you so much for our phone conversation, which says blah, 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 blah. Why do I do that? Because I've seen it happen before where I've said something or something was said to me, and now I'm, talking about it later, and they said, we didn't talk about that. Wait a second. I want to make sure that everything is that we're on the same level. I want to make sure that all of the information is in the right place. And I want to also cover myself because it's my license on the line. So you want to think about that as well. And then you want to get yourself a tribe, right? You want to get yourself a tribe, a good group of friends that can support you, that you can vent to, that you can have a glass of wine, a glass of tea, whatever it is that you like to drink. And if you have an SLP tribe, that's a plus. So I know I have a couple of tribes. So I have, I have a tribe of people from my old school that we're friends and, we keep in contact. I have my tribe, and some of them are on here tonight that I went to school with, and we are still very close to this day. I even have a newer tribe where in my district, because I'm in a district in Brooklyn, I kind of started looking around and I didn't see too many women of color in the district. And I kind of was like, well, I'm just going to go say hi to everyone. So I would just kind of go around at meetings and like, hi, what's your name? What's your number? Hi. And I just kept doing that. And so now there's like a group of 5 or 6 of us who've become pretty friendly. And over the pandemic, we were able to, at the end of the school year, we had our own little social distance picnic. And, it was really cool during the pandemic to be able to speak to other SLPs in my district who are probably going through the same things that I'm going through. It got us through sometimes to feel like we weren't alone, especially because you feel so isolated at that time during the pandemic and when everything went into quarantine. So it really got me through. So you really need to get yourself a tribe. SLP tribe is great. If you don't have access to SLPs, there's always one SLP or someone you went to school that you could keep in contact with, but just people who are like-minded that you can talk to. Okay, so I have another picture it story. So picture it, Brooklyn, 2020. I had a very busy week, as many of us do now that it's filled with Zooms and meets and conversations on the phone and workshops and all different types of stuff. And so I got myself prepared for a particular Zoom meeting. I put a little bit of makeup on my face. I just put on a nice shirt because no one really cares about your pants when you're on these Zooms. And, I did my hair and I found a space in my house that was distraction free and didn't have, too many things going on in it. And so I log into the Zoom and I see that there's no meeting. So I'm looking at that little box. And as I look closer, it's saying that the meeting was on the 24th. I logged in on the 25th. So I had missed the entire meeting. And so I don't know if I'm the only person that that's happened to. And I wish that I could say that it only happened for that event, but it did not. And I wish I could say it only happened one more time after that, but that's not true. It happened again. Embarrassingly enough, it did happen again. So what it made me realize is really that I need to get myself more organized. I needed to come up with some type of plan to figure out things. And also that I needed to stop relying on my brain because it's aging. And clearly it doesn't work the way that it used to work before. And I just need some type of system in place. So what it taught me is that I need to know myself. And I know that I am someone who, when I have a lot of things to keep track of, in my brain, I want to think that I can do it all, but I can't. And I don't remember everything. It taught me that I needed to get more organized. What was working for me, what I thought was working for me clearly wasn't working because I was forgetting a lot of things and places that I was supposed to be at. And it taught me that I needed to get some help. It taught me that I don't know everything. I don't know a lot, and I clearly need to have some support somewhere there. So I decided to create something. And so what I created was the Busy SLP Planner. I created this planner for busy speech language pathologists. I really created it first with myself in mind, just because, like I said, I had so many issues of remembering things that I needed to kind of try to remember. I needed to put all of my information in an organized place and a place that I could always access it. And so that's what I did. I decided to make a point to talk about, so I'm just going to pull out my planner so you can see that I use it. It's all used up in here. Well, I don't think you can see it right now, but it's used. I have my planner. And pretty much why I decided to create it was that I felt like I need help. And I feel like if I need help and I'm an SLP and I know how busy our job is all about keeping track of students, keeping track of their schedules, trying to plan our own schedules, making sure we know that we're supposed to be at a meeting at whatever time, making sure that we write session plans, making sure that we show up. There's so much juggling that we do within our day, and that's just work. We're not even talking about our personal life. So it really made me realize that I needed something, a systematic way to try to keep track of everything, and that maybe others might want something like that too. So within the planner, I also do a lot of things that talk about like goals. So what are your 3-month goals? What are your 6-month goals? What are you hoping to achieve? Every month, there's a part where it talks about what are your wins. So what did you do great this month? What do you need to work on for the next month? What are you planning for the next month? And then it has a whole place of notes where you could write down anything. Sometimes I write down a whole shopping list there because maybe that's just where I need to write my notes. And then sometimes I'm writing, parts of an IEP there because I'm trying to think about, okay, what goals would I like to target for this child? And what do I think they really need to work on for the next year? There's also inspirational quotes that I put in there. Inspirational quotes from, famous people, but then there are inspirational quotes from people who I hold near and dear to my heart, like my son and my family members. And then I even put quotes for myself that help me to stay motivated and stay focused as I'm going throughout my day. The planner has really been very helpful for me. It's been very beneficial because it's really helped me to now keep on track, and I'm not having those issues anymore where I'm forgetting meetings. So I put the planner here. So if anyone was interested, you can go to this website, www.thebusyslpplanner.com. It's $20. It's available on PayHip, and it's also sold on Amazon. So if you are interested in looking at the planner just to see what it's about, or maybe wanting to purchase, it's there. And then, so here is this free gift that I wanted to offer to you all. So I am having my first masterclass. It's free, and it's called Prepare Now, Relax Later. It's 5 strategies for speech pathologists to get themselves ready for the upcoming new year. So I know that school is almost over. For some people, it's over really soon if you're not in New York. And if you're in New York, we have about 20 something days. I have been counting, and I have a calendar where I'm marking it down. So my point in creating this masterclass was that I think that even though we are preparing to just like pack it up for the year, we've had a stressful year, I think that we really need to be very focused and conscious about going into next year. It's going to be a rough year next year. The reason I say that is because many of our students have been home. Many of our students have not been tuning in and coming into their sessions the way that they would if they were in school. Many of our students have not, when they tune in, they are either, not all of them, but many of them are not paying attention. They are looking at something on the computer at the exact time they're looking at you. They're watching TV. They're not coming on. The camera's off, the mute is on, and then you're calling their name, and 10 minutes later, they're coming back. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm really fearful for our students. I'm very fearful for our students, particularly our children of color. I feel like our children are falling through the cracks, and next year is going to be a really rough year because we're going to have to really work double time to pull them in. And so my point for all of this and saying all of this is that I really think that we need to be very intentional about preparing ourselves now and maybe putting in a little work now so that later on we're not pulling our hair out. I think that we need to think about self-care. I think SLPs, we don't think about self-care as much. We're kind of like, oh, we'll do it. No, we need to really put in systematic steps for self-care. I think we need to see what are some things I can prep for the summertime to get myself ready. How can I organize myself better now so that when it comes to September, I'm not like, where's the chipper chat? Where are my articulation cards? Where's the sequencing things, so that we have everything all together. I really think we need to also think about developing meaningful relationships, right? And really those relationships that do work. So maybe I know what I used to do, what we used to do as a speech pathology department is we used to buy a little something for the office staff. We would do like cookies at Christmas time. We used to do a little something for the custodians too. It may sound silly. You may say, I don't want to come out of my pocket and pay anything. I get it. But at the same time, that little extra touch shows people that, okay, someone's paying attention, and they tend to kind of look out for you a little bit more. I'm just saying, but that's up to you. And I also think just us being able to support each other. I want a place for us to be able to support and come together and be able to talk about some of the things that are happening in our schools, and seeing if we can get some more support and helping each other be accountable and just sharing ideas. So my whole point to that is I'm inviting you all to the free masterclass. It'll be next week, Friday, May 28th at 7 p.m. The bit.ly is there, so you can just click on that and I'll put it in the chat. And then you're able to come in and you can just register for it, and we can have a good time and talk and discuss and bring whatever you want to bring to drink. I do not, you drink whatever you want to. That's your business in your house. But so that's my point. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this presentation, just to just get yourself ready for the next school year. And again, this is how you can contact me. I will put all those links in the chat box. Kit Therapy and Consulting on Instagram and Facebook, and kittherapyandconsulting@gmail.com. Thank you so much, guys, for having me tonight.